We're good now. We finally made it here, got to the polygraph on time. I think I had tanning at like 4:30, so I had a little bit of time to chill, eat a little snack, and went to tan at 4:30. Let's talk about the tan. So the tan was kind of a disaster. So yeah, usually what happens is you go and you get like your first coat, and that takes maybe 10 minutes, and then they might let you dry for a few minutes, and then they'll spray you with a second coat. It takes like 10-15 minutes to dry. Sometimes it might take a little longer, 20 minutes if it's really humid. Well, I got sprayed and got sprayed again, and I stood there and waited and waited and waited, and I was not getting dry. I kept kind of like touching myself a little bit, and I'm sticky. I'm not drying at all. Like, I'm not just sticky, I'm like gooey. And I'm like, this is not drying. And I'm shivering, like they had the AC like cranked up. And I'm sitting there, or standing there, just shaking and shivering the whole time. And I was not drying. My skin would not get dry. And I'm just like, I cannot believe this. And then they would come over, they'd be like, oh, we missed a spot here, we need to touch you up. And so then they'd spray me like another spot, and then that would add even more time. And I'm just standing there, and I'm just like, this is not drying. Okay, so my appointment was at 4:30, and I stood there for at least an hour, and I still was not dry. And I wasn't even like getting dry in certain spots. Like, I was still sticky, gooey all over. No place on my body was getting dry. Finally, like, it was after 6 o'clock, and I'd been there since 4:30. And I'm like, I've got to go. Like, I cannot stand here anymore. Obviously, this is not drying. I've got to eat some more food. I've got to go check in. I've got a competitors meeting. Like, I cannot stand here any longer. And so I got dressed, and they were tanning us at the hotel. So I walked from the tanning room back to my room, and I look, and the tan is rubbing off. Like, now obviously, you know, I've been tan before, and so I know that you're not supposed to wear any like tight constrictive clothing. You know, you're supposed to wear really loose, baggy, no like really thick waistbands or anything that's gonna like be too thick or too tight and rub your tan off. So I had on like super loose pants. I had on like a loose t-shirt, just, you know, just really like loose clothing. But by the time I got back to my room, I like look, and like where my sleeves were, the tan had rubbed off. Where my waistband was just barely, I mean, like it was a super loose waistband. It had rubbed off the entire, it was like the tan was not even sticking to my skin. Like, it was stuck, it was sticky, but it wasn't like soaked into my skin at all. It was just like sitting on top, and it was just this sticky, gooey layer. And I was like, oh no, like this is like the worst. And so I immediately went back to the tanning room, and I was like, this isn't working. So I'm gonna go shower off, and can you please spray me again? And they said, yes, come back at 8 o'clock and we'll respray you. I was like, okay, good. So I went and showered off, and then went and checked in. Then we had a competitors meeting, and then I finally got back up to the tanning room around 8 o'clock, and there was 3 people ahead of me outside the room, and people inside getting sprayed. And apparently, I guess everybody was having this problem of not drying, and so like they started running behind. And I'm just like, I'm sitting there, and I'm like watching the clock, and it's like 8:30, 9 o'clock. I'm still sitting outside the tanning room waiting to get tanned again. And I'm just like, I still have to eat more food. I still have to do my nails. I still have to pack for the show. I want to run through my routine again. And I'm trying to stay very calm. I set goals for every show, and a lot of my goals are the same every show, but I always set like a specific goal for each show. And one of the goals that I had set for the show was to find joy in every moment. And I was just like, I'm not finding joy in this moment. I really, really am struggling to find joy in this moment. I was trying to, but it was not a joyful moment. And I was just trying to do my best to stay calm, just be like, it is what it is. I even kind of got desperate and I had texted the girl that did my tan the week before to see if she knew anybody in Georgia that could do like an emergency tan that night. And she didn't, but props to her for at least reaching out and trying. It was very sweet of her to try. But anyway, I got sprayed again and still kind of a sticky mess. Still took forever to dry. But I was just like, I'm over this. Like, I can't stand here and pretend to dry all night. So I went back to the hotel room and I was like, you know what? What do I have to lose? I had baby powder in my bag, and I'm like, I'm just gonna pat myself down with baby powder because I was so gooey. I'm like, I can't sleep like this. Like sometimes it's a little sticky and it gets a little hot when you're trying to sleep at night and your skin kind of gets a little sticky. This was like gooey, like that. Like there's no way that I could sleep. And so I'm like, you know what? I mean, this is already kind of a disaster. I'm just gonna like pat myself down with baby powder, and if it makes it splotchy, so be it. This was one time that I regretted not having my own tanning supplies with me. I have tanned myself in the past and I have the stuff to do it, and I usually leave it at home because I haven't been tanning myself these last few shows. But there's been a few instances where I'm like, dang, I wish I had my own tanning stuff with me, but I didn't have it with me this time. But anyway, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna like pat myself down with baby powder. This may be a complete disaster. It may be splotchy, whatever, but I can't sleep. So I started patting myself down and I'm like, okay, this is drying it out pretty good. Like I'm starting to feel dry from the baby powder. And then it starts soaking through the baby powder. Like I can start to feel the stickiness come back. So I like pat myself down with more baby powder and I'm just like, I don't even care. I just, whatever. Like at that point, and remember I had done back-to-back shows, like I was exhausted from the travel problems, from just the stress of trying to get there and just dealing with everything that day. I had lost so much energy just like shivering for hours and hours. Like I was exhausted and I was this close to just being like, I don't want to do this. Like I do not want to do this. And I was like, no, you've come this far. You're going to do it. It's going to be fine. I had to kind of talk myself away from the ledge. Like it's going to be fine. Just, calm down. Just, it is what it is. And so I just was very calm the rest of the night. I ended up getting all my stuff done that night, what I needed to do. And yeah, so anyway, that was the night before the show. So morning of the show, I wake up and